Welcome everyone, it's Shari Carroll for SimonsSaysStamp.com, and I'm here with another distress color combo, and my main color for this combination is Speckled Egg. So I have both the regular distress ink and also the oxide, but I'll just be using the distress ink for this card. I'm pairing it up with some walnut stain and antique linen for a really soft effect. I'll be doing some ink blending with the Snowflake Cluster stencil. This is from Simon Says Stamp, and it's a really beautiful, dainty stencil. To help me keep this down on my page, I'm using Thermoweb's Pixie Spray. You just shake the can up really well. And I have a paper towel right underneath my stencil, so I'm going to remove the cap, and I'm going to shoot this in just bursts and make sure that I cover the entire stencil. Once I have that covered, I'm going to let it set for about 10 minutes, and it'll become really nice and tacky. Next, I can place my stencil right on top of a piece of cardstock that I've cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and the stencil will stay in place so I can blend right over all those detailed areas without them moving. I'm going to start with my ink blending with the Speckled Egg, and I have a Simon Says Stamp blending brush here, and I'm also using the pet tool underneath my ink pad, and that holds it in place so I don't have to hold the ink pad while I'm working. To start off my inking, I do blot this onto my paper that's underneath, and I'm using circular motions to get this going, and I'm adding my Speckled Egg to the center area that I want to use for the stencil. And I don't want to go in too sharp of a diagonal. I want to try to have areas where I can blend the other colors in. And once I'm happy with my first color, I can go in with the walnut stain, and I've changed my brushes to one of the brown Simon Says Stamp brushes, and I'm going really gently with the walnut stain. I want it to be about the same darkness as the Speckled Egg. I'm also overlapping, and there's this intermediate color in between that I just adore, and it's really indescribable. It's between blue and brown, and it's almost a gray. So I'm going to push this walnut stain up into that Speckled Egg so I can capture some of that color. And finally, I'll be adding in some antique linen, and I have another new brush, and I'll swirl this around. Antique linen has a slight yellow to it, and what's going to happen is as I overlap onto the Speckled Egg, I'm going to gain a little bit of sagey green. And as I push it off to the edges and lighten the color, it will blend in with the white. If you feel you want to darken your colors at all, you can go back in and overlay the same colors over top and get some more blending. And the best part is to lift your stencil and reveal your pattern underneath. I'm using the sentiment strips from Burr and also a label die to cut this out, and it cuts out perfectly right around my message. I want to color this just a little bit, so I'm going to add some adhesive to my work surface. I don't want to do it to my sentiment strips because sometimes that adhesive might come around and you'll get some odd color. So I'll lay this down in place. And using Speckled Egg and that same brush, I have an ombre look to where my concentrated color is off to the right and it fades to white. I'll be doing some simple stamping, and I'm using the CZ Designs Holiday Silhouettes, and I'm using the 2 smaller trees, and I'm just placing this onto some white cardstock and using my Misty. Then I'll ink it up with the Simon Says Stamp Clear Embossing and Watermark ink. I'll press on the door by walking my fingers around. And then I can sprinkle on some Tim Holtz Walnut Stain Embossing Glaze over top, and I'll tap off the excess. Then heat it up with my heat tool until the embossing powder melts. I'll be doing the same thing with the smaller tree and Tim Holtz Speckled Egg Embossing Glaze, and I'll heat that up with my heat gun as well. Once everything is set, I'm using the matching dies and a little bit of tape, and I want to make sure that I have the same boundaries around each side of the die, and then I can run it through my die cut machine. I'm using just a little bit of foam tape to lift these trees up from the card, so I've placed the brown one down first, and the Speckled Egg sitting over top to where it overlaps. I've trimmed my panel down to 4 by 5 1/4, and I placed it onto a white note card. And I've also placed my message on top of the card with a little bit of foam tape and added some gemstones. By using the walnut stain along with the Speckled Egg, it gives you a sense of warmth and comfort. I hope you've enjoyed this distress color combo. Be sure to check out our blog post for additional information, and as always, thanks so much for watching.